John, I want to say thank you and welcome to the InfoProfit OS podcast. This is where we're highlighting other coaches, consultants that's out there utilizing their knowledge and passions to be hopefully doing something impactful for the world, right? So right now we just want to kind of like highlight you, share your story, how you got to where you are. I think you're doing something pretty incredible, blending human and environmental, design and sustainability. And I would love to just dive deeper into how you got there, especially in the time period that you did in 16 months, and then hopefully provide some information that's valuable to the audience as well. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, Jay. Thank you for having me on. Honored and excited to kick this off.
Awesome. So for everybody, right, that's watching, give us a little bit of a background of just like who you are, kind of what you're doing, and then we'll dive a little bit deeper into the actual business and like your profession side too.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Jonathon Cremer. I'm based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota here, and launched our sustainability consultancy, Eversphere, about 16 months ago. I come from a commercial design development kind of background, along with my business partner, where in a pre-COVID world, we were competitors, going up against each other to outfit different commercial spaces, from furniture to architectural solutions, technology. But saw throughout COVID, everyone was home. There was a need. How can we accelerate people coming back to places and spaces? At the core of it, I'm a wannabe doctor. I love helping people. I genuinely do. So our focus of, kind of blending human and environmental sustainability, we're wannabe doctors for buildings and want to help people grow. Yes, we can design you a beautiful space and a place, but if there aren't going to be people inside, what's the point? So really that human-centric approach to space.
It's interesting. That reminds me of a quote. I don't know if it's quite in a line, but it's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And you're like, hey, listen, I know we're competitors, but I think we can build something very interesting here. So how did that come about then? Like how did that conversation where it's like, hey, I know we're opposing opposites, but let's figure out how we can make something even better than what we're currently doing.
Absolutely. We always joke that I would give him like the low margin projects for when we go out to bid because I don't want to deal with it. And, I'm best friends over the years and whatnot too. So kind of joined forces and, we operate a little bit differently where it brings me back from outer space. Like, hey, you got these crazy ideas, but let's figure out how we get there. So it's a beautiful blend of two different visions that kind of just all seem together. And he's the same way. He loves helping people. And we joke that, we're wannabe doctors. Our approach is that we're coming to take a quote unquote pulse check and get a blood pressure taken of your building. And then we write a prescription to make it a little bit more high performing and healthier. So, the days of in a post-COVID world, we see all these empty buildings all over the world. So what are people going to do? What are companies going to do? Building owners, business owners, whatever it may be, to get your team to come back or have people almost have the fear of not being back at the office. And the days of 5 days in and 8 to 5, yes, there's a little bit more flexibility. But, we're here to really make sure that those people and those employees and those team members can do their best work.
Yeah.
And go home feeling almost better than you did going into work.
I like the way you put that. Like you're diagnosing something that typically most people would do for humans, but this environment is a living and breathing kind of like space because there's people in it. So like I like that approach that you're mentioning. And it's funny as well. One of my best friends, he's an engineer, but I'm a designer by like trait. So I'm the same way to where I'm thinking all these big ideas and he's like, so on the solution side, we can't really do it like that. So he helps me to reel it back in. And it's pretty interesting having that back and forth conversation of like pushing the limit, but also how do you make this become reality on like the engineering side. I feel like that's what you're saying when you get like, I guess both of you guys together and having those kind of conversations.
Totally. Yeah. And a little bit more background. I come from a small town called Harmony, Minnesota, about 2.5 hours southeast of Minneapolis here. And we have a family-owned recycling manufacturing company that came to life and is trying to employ local community to attract more people to move to small town USA. So we started off making ice shacks or canvases for ice shacks that evolved to hydraulics. And then in the 90s, really got into international recycling and kind of always grew up around that entrepreneurial spirit, but the focus of how can we help better the world, know? And so I've seen it through kind of recycling and, I've always been kind of a little bit of a germ freak myself.
I understand.
So, like if I see someone sneeze in front of me, I'm not just loving walking through it, so why aren't we a little bit more conscious, especially in a post-COVID world, of where we are and the spaces that we are in, really almost making the invisible invisible. So we're really hyper-focused around air intelligence, safety, air quality, air performance. Really, all we do our entire lives is breathe air. And if we're not breathing, as we talked before, it's not a good thing.
No.
And, 90 to 93% of our lives indoors too, and take an average of 22,000 breaths a day.
Correct.
So I'm no mathematician, but if you are constantly in a space that's with poor air quality and poor performance, it's just like anything else in the world. If your car's not performing well, you can't really achieve your daily needs. And, it's just kind of that domino effect.
Yeah. So you kind of touched on it. So I'm kind of curious then, if you already had this family business company, right? Because it takes a lot for a person. I don't know because I don't come from like a generational business entrepreneurial family who already has something. What made you decide, I guess, 16 months ago to be like, hey, love you guys, but I want to create this new like right opportunity. And how was that conversation? Because I could imagine they're like, hey, well, we already have a business going. What are you doing? Why are you going to go create something different? Or at least some on another field. How was that?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's funny. That's a common question. And a lot of people, growing up, I knew one day I wanted to be part of the family company, Harmony Enterprises. But I come from an international business background throughout my education and really had this international vision. And we have a team in Europe called Harmony Europe, out of the southern part of France, that really drives sustainability, but a little bit more of a future forward approach. We're heavy in manufacturing here in the US and more on the service type of world in Europe. So I knew I wanted to be part of it somehow, but in my mind, how can we elevate our collective offerings of sustainability services and data-driven solutions? So jumped to the family business about a year ago, a little bit over a year ago. So I'm on our board of directors, and then I manage our Europe team. So we're starting to test out some of our Eversphere solutions and services throughout Europe and really starting to blend this together. If we're already talking data-driven recycling and very unique solutions in the world that no one else is offering, why not elevate our services of really focusing around air performance? And we're already talking energy savings at the same time. So why not make a stronger case? And at the same time, where it goes back to, yes, we want to help the planet, of course, but the people part and recycling, yes, that's going to help people, of course, don't get me wrong, but goes back to the people in the buildings. And why not make sure that, we're designing these spaces, as in the back, coming from your background, that are high performing. No client wants to spend millions of dollars for a sterile, boring environment that's not going to increase productivity. You want to elevate your culture and the collaboration, really get people excited to be there.
Right.
And I had the pleasure and the honor of working for some amazing companies before Evrspehere, and got to learn kind of, that human-centric approach to designing space. I don't have a design background myself. My sister does on the residential side. So I've always kind of had that, but it's been great to really blend these together, of Harmony Enterprises and data-driven recycling to Eversphere, and really focusing around air and healthy spaces.
I'm happy you said that because you touched on what I was going to ask you is like, if somebody had to ask you specifically, how do you define like the human environmental like sustainability, like in just a sentence or a phrase, what does that look like for you when having that conversation with people? Because this is pretty unique. It's a little different, which I like. So how do you really, express that to people when they're asking you like, what does that even mean or what does that look like?
Yeah, it's fun to be able to tailor the conversation to depending who we're talking to.
Okay, I can see that.
Speaking to a CFO, we can hit energy savings and cost savings all day long. A CEO, of course, is going to care about that, but a little bit broader, focused on the overall reputation, the brand of the company and the team, and really that kind of holistic approach versus financials, really specific per se. So
Right.
we can hit people with, first off, we talk about your largest asset as an organization, the people. So our first pillar is occupant health. And at the same time, if we can create healthier spaces, but a lot of people would assume, wow, that's going to be really expensive. Like this can't be cheap. It's not the case. We have some amazing partners that we bring into the mix too. So occupant health, then we hit sustainability. And we're really, really driving, kind of like I mentioned, blending that first part, the occupant health, with energy savings, meeting different compliances, and really getting ahead of what's coming our way for future decarbonization efforts and laws being put in place, like we're seeing in New York City, Local Law 97. So we're really trying to get ahead. So we tie it back to occupant health, sustainability, and decarbonization are our three sweet spots. Personally, really, really passionate, as you can probably tell, on the occupant health side. And sustainability. Man, I love helping people. And, COVID was an eye opener, and it really inspired us to, for a living, designing places for people to be in, and then not having that. It's like, well, what is the future? So it really got the juices flowing for us. We're like, what are we going to do? And how can we accelerate resiliency in every environment? And seeing, I have 5 nieces and a nephew, and I'm pretty much the only friend of mine that doesn't have kids or that's not married. So I've got like really,
Understood.
you know,
Same
I have
boat.
like 200 nieces and nephews collectively, basically. But seeing how COVID affected them, not just, physically, but emotionally, and, the depressions and just, seeing people not being able to see each other and,
Yeah.
live life like we had before. It really fueled us to, let's create something different that doesn't quite exist, that really, really tailors to the people. But I don't know anyone in the right mind that doesn't want to create a healthier environment, save a ton of money with a guaranteed performance. And at the same time, you just get to create a better vision of the world for you personally, your organization, whatever it may be. And yes, there are people that don't care about sustainability and
Hmm.
decarbonization. By all means, do your thing. We're not here to like preach to the choir and make you change your life.
Yeah.
As a business owner, as a, whatever it may be, why not approach this different opportunity in a unique way that no
Hmm.
one's thought about before?
Yeah.
So it is future forward. Being in the Midwest, we're a little bit slower to adapt, but taking our learnings from Europe and East Coast and West Coast and blending them in with our amazing partners that we have
Hmm.
has been truly inspiring. And I swear I'm learning hourly.
That's, I
It's
mean, I
inspiring.
feel like when you're in like the coaching and consulting space, regardless of whatever like niche or industry you're in, that's the leverage that you should have is like continuously being a student, right? Because knowledge is always coming up, or new knowledge is always coming about, right? And like speaking on that, how have you found for specifically what you're doing and talking to all these people, do you feel like there's still a lot of knowledge that has to be shared with these C-suite individuals or these different industries on this particular topic? Or do you feel like it's already out there and people are just ignorant to it and don't pay too much care?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And Jay, I think there is limitless information to learn. With it evolving so quickly, there's different topics, and depending what side you're on, it doesn't matter. At the end of the
Hmm.
day, we care about you and your health and your family's health. And maybe this isn't the right job for you, but I'd rather
Hmm.
take losing a job than being sick and not
Yeah.
focusing on the health of my family, myself, and whatever that may look for our future collectively. So really, it's limitless, and the trends change. Of course, technology advances, bringing AI into the mix and whatnot. And we've been blessed to partner with some amazing companies that have these technologies to really help us scale
Hmm.
across the world and build a force that we're proud of and that we can feel confident that we can actually help people while saving money, and at the same time just driving resiliency. We're kind of that bridge between health and the built environment. You
Right.
know, can build you these beautiful buildings, of course, and all these great spaces, but if they're not going to perform,
Hmm.
having the metrics and the data to pull all of our partners and all of our visions back behind data. Because yes, we can tell people that clean air is important, don't get me wrong, but some people are like, well, it doesn't stink in here. My heat works, my AC works, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Until you really showcase what's going on and really get in the heart and souls of people. Because sometimes sustainability gets a little extra light green or dark green, whatever it may
Hmm.
be, and people just think you're instantly trying to brainwash you or grainwash you or whatever it may be.
Correct.
Think away. We're fine with that, but that's not who we are and that's not what we do. We're
Yeah.
here to care about the people, passionate about every vertical market, from education, especially our future leaders of the
Hmm.
world. Why not be able to protect every day what they're trying to do? They're learning, their brains are growing. Why not make sure that they're in an environment that they can do their best and be healthy? And we're taking a little bit further too, the kind of the correlation between air quality and mental health.
Mm.
And what does that look like? And there's conversations that people feel uncomfortable having, but it's real life. And that's why we're
Right.
doing this. We're not here to hide behind the bushes. And this is what's going on. Why not tailor an approach to
Yeah.
make it better? Whether you're a multi-billionaire or you own whatever, maybe the smallest little coffee shop down the road, it doesn't
Hmm.
matter. We care about the people inside and you and the
Hmm.
health of your business and your own overall well.
Yeah, I think that's you hit on something crucial. So, I mean, we had a conversation before, specifically coming from like a high performance background and looking at individuals, especially like athletes, and how do you make them perform better. And sometimes it's not the actual physical task, but maybe it's like the mental or the internal things that we have to kind of change and bringing that as more of an importance, like bringing more emphasis on that so then the after effect is their physical ability is able to perform better. And I think you're doing the same thing with these spaces towards like, hey guys, I know you can't see air, right? but it does play a crucial factor for the people that's in here who's trying to perform slash do their work slash live their life that will then ultimately bring a bigger impact to your space in itself. And it's you hit on something interesting because I remember coming out of COVID, I think it was like 2 years ago, I was seeing more physical spaces being designed to help bring people back into life, into like the real world outside. Because even for myself, I work a lot in home, but I crave, again, not necessarily going back into an office, but finding a space that I can still feel like I can have those physical interactions, but still do my work, have that isolation. And I think that's why like WeWork spaces and all these collaborative spaces are becoming a lot more popular because people want a bit of that autonomy between, hey, I still want to meet people, but I still want my, independence, not having to be micromanaged, but also, so it's like, hey, if that's the case, then you really want to make sure the spaces that are being created are able to be sustained for a longevity period of time for them to want to be there. And because that's such a key word in your business or when you're talking to people, how do you define sustainability? Right? Because I know it's different in every industry, right? So how do you define sustainability specifically for what you guys do?
Yeah, we really drive into the resilience aspect,
Okay.
where let's say there will be a future of something that comes our way, and how are we going to prepare for what's
Hmm.
ahead? Can we be prepared already by incorporating these different advancements and these different initiatives to get ahead of what's coming down the road, to be able to sustain another round of whatever it may be? Or let's say your business model completely changes. Can you sustain as a business? Can you sustain in that role as an employee with an evolving company? Really kind of tying it back into you individually and I know we really kind of blend in with resilience and health. What does health mean to you? And
Yeah,
it's funny talking to people, and I shouldn't say funny, but
I do
it's
the same
interesting
thing.
when people ask me like the same thing. It's like, what are you saying? But
Yeah,
like, what is it to you? Would I love to have a helicopter in the helipad here and like fly across the world on a flight? Sure. But is it your emotional health? Is it, your financial health? What is your physical health? What is health to you? And it's been interesting seeing different generations kind of answer that question as well. Like I've been doing this forever. This is my business, and we've, doing this for 60 years. That's awesome. That's great. But what is the future?
mhm.
What is the future? How are you going to prepare? Because you've been doing this forever, but what happens when you're not here? Can your
Correct.
company sustain the next generation of what may be coming? So long-winded question, but it's really, and we're trying to figure that out as we go, truly, as we
Yeah.
learn more about being able to blend these together. And yes, we have solutions for, ESG reporting and stuff like that too.
Hmm.
But we've learned that we have better partners for things like that, that
Gotcha.
we can't do everything at Eversphere, but
Yeah.
we've built some beautiful partnerships, as mentioned, that can really help deploy this vision. And it warms my heart seeing other people that share the same vision. That,
Hmm.
yes, of course, everyone wants to be profitable and this and that, but if we can help people go back to even traveling, if their health has been an issue, or going to a simple thing like going to the store, if they can feel safer doing that.
Because you're in such an interesting, I think, industry, or you're providing such an interesting solution that I think is the most common for people to think about. What's been some of like the hurdles, I guess, having this conversation? Because I know this is not even probably nowhere near the same, but it's the same, or at least the way I'm interpreting it, the same process when you're having a conversation of people like installing solar, right? I know
Yeah.
it's not the same, but what I mean is like I feel like there's certain hurdles and conversations you're bringing about that come about when you're having these conversations with people to bring awareness for them to be like, oh, wait, I actually never thought about that. What are those common hurdles when like reaching out to potential clients or when the clients reach out to you of the importance of actually bringing this in-house to their buildings?
Yeah, I know it's another great question. I feel like people automatically think it's really expensive. It's going to be really expensive.
Okay.
The case, not the case whatsoever. And we tie that back to an ROI.
Hmm.
What happens if 20 of your 40 team members are sick with the flu? Can your business still run? What are the metrics behind that? And really kind of tying it back to really where the pain points may be. If it's expensive, well, we'll show the ROI of
Hmm.
how we can bypass that fear, that concern.
Correct.
And a lot of people, it also goes back to you're trying to quote unquote greenwash us. Whatsoever, I want
Yeah.
all my loved ones and people in the world to be in healthy places and spaces that are high
Correct.
performing. I, like you, I like that social interaction. I need that energy. Like
Hmm.
I don't sit for long and I'm off to the next coffee shop, to the meeting, whatever it may be, because I need that sense of community to help me grow within my business at the same
Hmm.
time. And me sitting inside my apartment all day, every day, trying to grow Eversphere with the both of us, it's not it. So trying to revitalize communities too, and
Hmm.
finding those right people that want to do that with you. But it really goes back to, it gets political and the
Of course.
greenwashing and all this and that. But we love those conversations. It's a learning opportunity for us. But we go back to, and we stay in our lane,
Yeah.
hear about the health and the
Gotcha.
safety.
And I know it's not as simple as like, hopefully this isn't offensive, like, hey, we're going to change the air filters, right? It's like, no, 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 no. There's a lot more to that, right? So without having to, I guess, spill the whole beans of like the methodologies and the process, what does that typically look like of, hey, we're going to come in and diagnose like your space, right? Is it the actual changing of the environment? Is it like implementing new airflow systems? Like what does that look like if people are interested of, hey, maybe we actually need to take better care of our building, and what, like just giving them a little bit of an insight of how you
Yeah,
go about like diagnosing these spaces.
absolutely. Yeah. So we have a partner of ours that we go into a building and we mimic human breath in live time. So really combining AI and tech and calculus and a bunch of other words I can't really pronounce because I'm not a scientist. But blessed to have
Likewise.
those people. Exactly, exactly. So we go in and we get that pulse check, that we're getting the blood pressure taken. We're figuring out what's going on in live time. Because without data, how do we course correct and how do we fix anything or make it better without knowing? So we gather the data and we benchmark that against compliance. And then from there, we see where we're at. And with the technology, the biotech partner that we have, we can fine tune your building with your existing systems. So increasing your HVAC flow up or down based if you're overventilated, if you're underventilated. And we found that 80% of buildings in a post-COVID world are overventilated, which means you are burning dollars by the day. Yes, you have more airflow going through. Great, your air is healthier. Fantastic. But you can scale back to incorporate those energy savings and those dollars and still achieve the highest standard of health. So it's more the educational piece of, hey, we can come in and live time. We're not retrofitting anything right then and there, and it's all tech. And I'm proud to say that we have partners that are the most advanced and it's the best in the world. And I'm proud to say that. And I have the data to back that up too, where we challenge any organization. If yes, we just install these filters, this and that, that's great. It's awesome. You're heading in the right direction. But if you could make it 10 times better for a quarter of the cost, would you be interested? And most people think like, what? It's like, well,
Yeah.
no, let us try. Let us try. And then from there, we have the data in live time to show what's going on. Like I said, most people, if I'm a building owner in downtown Manhattan, as I think I shared this example with you,
Hmm.
and we have local law 97 being put in place, a decarbonization effort where, let's say my building's 40% occupied. And as a city, you're hitting me with this new law that I have to reduce my carbon footprint. If you have a building over a certain amount of size, you have to reduce your carbon footprint by X date. So people are like, well, that would entail a lot of money. And I would assume the same thing. And before this biotech technology that was advanced in our partner Poppy, it was that concern where, man, we got to spend $15-20 million on a new HVAC system. So we can come in for a fraction of the cost. And that's where the energy savings really come into play.
Great.
And from there we fine tune, and it's something that no one else has, and we're proud to support it, and proud to have these people. Like I said, we know enough to be dangerous. We can get it in the door, but we challenge any organization, bring in the most intelligent human being you have, and I promise you we can have a conversation that'll be mutually beneficial. And that may sound a little out there, but
No.
that's how confident we are, and that's why we stay at the heart of what we do. And then we have our partners that really can expand in the deeper depths of those conversations
Hmm.
and whatnot.
I
But
like
yeah, it's interesting. I don't come from a world of a lot of tech in my prior life, so we're learning, and it's beautiful.
I like that. And I definitely want to have the conversation of tech utilizing tools, AI, because that's right. that's in our forefront, whether people know it or not. And that's something we are harping on a lot about, utilizing solutions to just make it more efficient. But Alex Ramosi said something pretty interesting that stuck with me a few years ago, where it was like every solution creates new problems, right? You were looking to solve a solution or provide a solution when you started this business 16 months ago. And I'm pretty sure when you provided that solution, there was new problems, right? What were some of those problems or like bottlenecks you faced in the early stages? And then like now, 16 months later, right? It's like obviously there's going to be newer problems as you're building and growing, the business is getting bigger. What were some of those first bottlenecks that you've encountered when building out Eversphere?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think when it comes to the product side of the business, we have a consulting arm of the business and then a portfolio of products to help support our needs. And I'd say when we first launched, it was, well, I already have that. We already have one of those. And it's like, that's great. Like, and people are proud. Like, I bought this system throughout
Yeah.
COVID. That's great. I did the same thing personally here at home and whatnot. This is the next iteration. And if yes, efficacy levels of your solutions, it's nice, it's great. But if you want to have something that's FDA 510K approved as a medical device, military graded solutions that can reduce 99.999% of all airborne pathogens in 1.2 seconds with a built-in ozone catalyst, something that no one else has, like it's that top dog. It's like, I'm sorry, it's great, but I can definitely do better, and it sounds maybe a little cocky, but we wanted to be part of these leading organizations. Oh, and then the cost. People think, oh my gosh, it's so expensive. Well, it's like, well, you're driving a $200,000 Range Rover in the parking lot, and this thing costs $7,000 and covers 5,000 square feet and will help your entire team.
Yeah, so
like, where are your priorities? Not to make you feel bad. Where do you
correct.
want to invest? And ties back to the health. Like, are you investing in the bottom line of your business? And what is that? So I think there was a lot of that. And especially in the Midwest too, it's, like I said, we're a little bit slower to adapt. So, you're just trying to get in the political world, and, you're just trying to greenwash us or brainwash us, whatever it may be. I've got that a few times.
Yeah.
And also coming from not in the sustainability space per se, had some doubt right away from some people that were like, okay, you don't really know anything about ESG reporting. It's like we do to a high level, but
Correct.
we learned that wasn't our right fit. That was our real big focus right away. And we scaled back, so we're really more talking about sustainability business strategies and then incorporating these solutions within. Yes, we're talking very similar things, but it opens the door and really ties it back to that resilience aspect of, how can our approach help your business, your bottom line, the people, and not just you checking a box to submit to an RFP that you did this last year,
Right.
So that's great. Don't get me wrong. But I personally, I want to be proud of an organization that cares about me, and in this post-COVID world where, people don't necessarily want to go back to the office or, I've been at home forever. Why do I have to go back? So how do we almost create that like FOMO effect of not being there? And as a business owner myself, I need my team members. Like, we want to collaborate and work together. That's how we're energized. That's how we learn. If we're looking for 50 different individual islands across the world to sit by themselves and rarely communicate, what's the purpose for our type of business? Everyone works differently, but we're really that collaborative focus, and starting to travel a fair amount and spend some time in Europe with our team there and learning what are their obstacles and how can I take the learnings that they've already gone through and apply it to us here in the US. And I've learned there aren't as many obstacles whatsoever. People are like, why wouldn't we do this? Like, when do we start?
Yeah.
I'm so proud to say our European team is starting to blow it out of the water, and they have that vision too. They get it. Like, why wouldn't we,
Correct.
get ahead of what's coming and, really pioneer something that's amazing? And not every organization is meant for us and vice versa, but, we want to collaborate with those people that are future forward thinking, that really do care about the people. And we can get in the deep weeds of every vertical market from, of course, we're caring with the humans, but we're also diving in the cannabis world, the agricultural world. We're learning that, obviously air affects everything and everyone that we are part of. You know what I mean? Like, we can go down a deep rabbit hole with that, but like, it's all we do is breathe. I mean, if I got an alert from the city of Minneapolis saying that the water's contaminated, I don't think I would just go back and start chugging water.
No.
But, we know that buildings aren't healthy, but we're perfectly fine still just spending most of our lives indoors. Why wouldn't you course correct that, make it more high performing? And yes, we are primarily commercial focused, but in the residential world as well. Why not? At home, like I said, I don't have kids, but I don't want my kids getting sick and then I can't go to work,
No.
and there's that domino effect. And we can alleviate those concerns and really help grow by all means. So, and it's the not even just the install and right off, the initial launch of the project. It's gathering the data behind the scenes, years down the road. How have we increased? And so we can constantly scale to be better and not just a one-time fix. We're going back, we're a true consultant, we're going back with our clients
Hmm.
and we're checking to see the progress, not just we're selling you something, we're hitting the
Yeah,
road.
building, releasing it
Yeah.
basically into
We're
this.
not transactional like that. Don't get me wrong, if you want some of our products, you can ship it to your house and
Yeah, of
whatnot, by all
course.
means, but we're just trying to find ways of, how can we scale and bring in the
Hmm.
right partners to really to grow, to be able to be everywhere at the same time,
Yeah.
which is my goal, to help as many people. We don't like saying no, and we just want to help across the board.
I like that. And I think you've touched on something pretty crucial. So we focus on helping people like turn their passions into profits, skills into sales, whatever they have their expertise in. Let's help them to build like a micro education business, right? Now, when you guys started out, you had a certain, I would say, solution, and it sounded like you pivoted a little bit when you pulled back of like, wait, maybe we actually need to change our focus of this. And I don't think enough people do that earlier on to really innovate to provide a better solution for specifically they're talking about. But you've been able to do that because you're doing the consultational approach, taking the feedback, and you really care. So I think people that are in these spaces, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, if you're a coach, if you're a consultant, listen to your people, listen to what
Yeah,
they're saying. Wait,
absolutely.
okay, maybe we can actually provide a better, maybe we aren't providing the correct solution that's needed that we thought we needed to do. How do we not backtrack, do we backtrack, re-innovate what we're doing, test it again, get the feedback so that we can provide a better solution. I think you've done that in an incredible way, and especially with partnerships and filling in the gaps in the areas with different tools that you realize like, hey, we can actually leverage into these to then give that ultimate outcome, right? Speak
Absolutely.
Speaking on that, we live in a world of AI. We live in a world where like data is now becoming a lot more imperative to businesses, right? Were
Right.
you always like adaptive to these tools to, I'm assuming so because of what you're doing and like what you're solving,
Yeah.
you have to have that information. How have you guys adopted like AI or these different tools and resources for what you are currently doing, and how do you currently stay on top of the game of the tools that's out there as well?
No, that's a great question. I joke that I'm an old soul. I jumped in the AI world about a little over a year ago, about a year and a half ago, I'll say.
Okay.
Right away, I wasn't really sure about it.
Hmm.
But having my plate be stacked with all sorts of different things now and wearing all different hats across the board for our family
Yeah.
businesses and Eversphere, and us figuring out our international aspect of the business too. That's where I've used a lot of AI to really just quick learning. I
Mm.
mean, I sit there, there's days I'm like, man, I should have paid more attention in college.
Yeah.
But, little things like that, like how do we, in the Europe too, there's so many different regulations for each country.
Yep.
And how do we figure how can we get into Spain through our European team, through our French team, excuse me, and whatnot. So there's different logistical things like that where I'm just popping and I'm learning and really trying to just stay a little bit more organized as well.
Right.
That I'm a loose cannon where brain is everywhere at all times. So using AI to really help advance our approach and then learning with our partners that really
Mm-hmm.
do have these technologies and the advanced AIs that are designed to do exactly what we're doing,
Mm-hmm.
which is beautiful. We're not trying to retrofit an existing system through our partners, and now we're bringing in more AI with our family business as well. What is the future of manufacturing from a recycling side of things? We're based in small town USA. We only have a certain amount of people, but we have product in 93 countries. How do we stay afloat? You
Mm-hmm.
know, how do we continue to be able to provide, but also be be stabilized in a way that we're not just completely loose cannons constantly?
Yeah.
So how can we advance our processes and really just help evolve in that side of things?
Mm-hmm.
So we're learning. We just created an AI task force as well. So looking to
Nice.
bring on some different people throughout the country to help really figure out what that means.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things that learning as we go across the board.
Yes, especially because everything is still so very new. A
Yep.
lot of people think like it's already here, and it's like no, it's still in a very like infant stage. It's kind of still like the wild wild west in a way, which is there's a great part to that, but it's also a scary side to where just the lack of knowledge, unless you're diving into it and kind of educating yourself on it. What's like the most common tools, right? You got like the Calendly, you have maybe like the QuickBooks, like automations that's in there. What's common tools for you guys? Is it more on workflows, processes, or is it more of
Yeah,
like lead gen?
I'd say more workflow. Really trying to utilize every tool that we have within HubSpot as our CRM
I
platform.
love HubSpot.
And I came from a world of Salesforce for many, many years. So I'm learning, and I was a Salesforce wizard, I will say, in a very nerdy way of saying it. But I'm learning as we go. So if I can use more AI throughout, our CRM platform and creating these marketing campaigns and whatever it may be to help streamline our process, because there is just two of us, and from a social media side of things too. I mean, we're scrambling each week to get posts out the door because we're doing 5,000 other things. So
Correct.
really trying to simplify our process. And I'll say from a lead gen side, it's been primarily LinkedIn for me. That's how,
Mm.
that
Yeah, that's true.
we have yet to really pick up the phone and start calling or, really
Yeah.
target people. We are blessed to have a really strong network across the world. So really for us, it's almost overwhelming because every building that we see around is a
Hmm.
potential client.
Yeah, that's that.
There's energy savings, there are cost savings everywhere we look. Whether you're a coffee shop, a hotel,
Hmm.
a casino, a hospital, it does not matter. There's money to be saved. And at the same time, you're creating a healthier environment by achieving the highest standard of health
Hmm.
through our partners. So things like that where it's evolving as we know as
Yeah, of
well.
course.
So what is the future? Not a clue. But
Yeah,
we're riding the wave and trying to find that happy in between too,
of course.
really to help really organize our thoughts and simplify all of our different visions.
One of my good friends, and he's actually the first person I interviewed for the podcast. A quote that he said and it stuck with me is the way we predict the future is we build it, right? And it like hit me like a ton of bricks. But I think it's very important, especially when it comes like to the AI side and how we're utilizing these tools, is we don't know what's to come with it, right? But
Really,
we can help to navigate it and like curate it or push it in the correct direction by actually being involved with it and how we're utilizing it. The great thing I love, especially for people who are looking to get started with their own coaching consulting kind of business, is
hmm
this gives you the opportunity to learn really quickly, like you mentioned, right? But then two, also be able to stay as lean as possible for as long as possible before you
exactly.
actually really have to be, like bring people on. Because I remember when I first got started, I was just like I struggled to delegate because I just was like, oh, I want to hold on tight with everything. But with these tools, you're like, I can delegate while still having the control and being the person, and it's great because I'm like, oh wait, I have just more arms and not
hmm
just more people, which is nice. And of course, that gets to a point where it's like, okay, now I need somebody who's going to manage all these tools or like do these things, right? There it does get to that threshold but at least you're still been able to get a couple feet, couple yards, a lot further without having to like bring somebody on a lot earlier, which is nice. So
100%. Yeah, really. I mean, we're in that startup life, you know,
yeah.
really, where every penny counts and, we're trying to invest accordingly where we know will help us grow.
Hmm.
And what does that look like in the future? We'll see. But we're really just hyper focused on getting the message out there. And we've been so busy building this
Yeah.
that, we're at a point now that we're really unveiling to the world who we are and what we do.
Hmm.
And we'll be coming up with some upcoming great videos and stuff like that too on behalf of Eversphere
There
and
we go.
some exciting things with our family businesses too, as we're really blending everything that we do at Eversphere in with data-driven recycling and waste management on a
Hmm.
global scale. So kind of creating a new chapter of sustainability really
Yeah.
and blending more of that human side in with what we have already built in the
Hmm.
past and just steering it in a way that I hope will be accepted to the world. Like I said, I don't know anyone in the right mind that doesn't like to save money and
Yeah,
that
of
doesn't
course.
like to be in a healthy environment. I mean, if I were to ask you, would you prefer to be in a room that's full of mold or a healthy room? I feel like you would probably say
Healthy
the
room.
healthy one, and it really boils down to that, like where do you want the kids to be? Where do you want yourself to be? If
Yeah.
I could pay more money to be on a flight to anywhere in the world that I know has verified clean air, where I can
Hmm.
see on my phone in live time the air quality level in this plane. Because if something is off, that's not worth it for myself.
Yeah.
Like I'm blessed to I'm a healthy person, but some people don't have that opportunity.
Hmm.
they can't take that risk. So that ease of mind and the anxieties have been reduced. Even talking about, yes, with this clean air is better for you physically, but emotionally too. Do you feel stronger? Are you more confident in yourself that you can do your best work, that you can go to bed at night knowing that you're in a healthy environment, So trying to take away some of those concerns as well. So it ties back to the wannabe doctor, as you can tell,
Yeah.
really want to get in the healthcare space,
Hey, listen, you have your way of going about it, which is nice. I remember growing up, I wanted to be a fireman. Quickly learned I did not want to be quote unquote a fireman. And I believe it was Gary Vee that talked about it. He was just like, you are the front of the line. You're the last person in the like to put out all the fires. Like that's all you're doing as like a business owner, entrepreneur is putting out fires. And I remember reflecting on that. And somebody told me, he was like, in a way, you've kind of became a fireman. Just not the technical fireman that's going into buildings, but you're still putting out fires because that's what you're doing like in the business. And I was just like, oh, that's true. Like I kind of accomplished that part of my life that I thought I wanted as a kid, but I'm just doing it in a different way. So like vice versa, it's like you wanted to go into the medical field or be a doctor. You're doing the traits, but you're just applying it in a different way. And there's something that's kind of like peaceful, I think, about that. And I think every entrepreneur has that.
Oh,
They don't want to go the traditional route. They want to do something else, but they're still getting that fix, right?
you're still like, it's funny you brought up the firefighting. When I was a really young kid, I wanted to be an ambulance driver,
Wow.
EMT, because I'm a huge car nerd.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's so many tires on this thing were fascinating to me. Like, fun. I can drive anywhere to help people,
Correct.
Literally, like, as a kid, if I got to see a dually spin out, oh yeah, all day long. Like, literally, I'm not kidding, but I was like, wow, with those extra tires, they can get anywhere to help people.
Yeah.
And I've been in tons of weird, random emergency situations myself where I'm on scene. I'm the first person there. I've also been in an ambulance myself a time or two as well, but it goes back to, how can, as a kid, I was more focused on the tires, but I wanted to help people at the same time.
Correct.
So it's funny you say that. It didn't even click until you brought that up.
Yeah.
But to your point, exactly, you are doing that. You're still helping and, doing what you're passionate about, but not doing that as, a firefighter.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I would love for you, if you're open to it, of sharing the story that you shared with me about your niece.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a great way to like kind of tie things up. And I'm like, after our call, I just was like sitting there reflecting. I had goosebumps, and I think it's an incredible story. I would love for you to tell people about it.
Yeah. No, thank you for even bringing that up. It's something that we share a lot. So this was about 2 years ago. I left my job, and my sister owns a design company, residential and a home good line, and just a great designer, but one heck of an entrepreneur. So my niece and nephew and the rest of them have always been surrounded by that kind of world. And my niece, Brooklyn, who is 9 at the time, she's also my goddaughter. We're super close, and we're having brunch one day and just hanging out. And I'm Uncle John John. She goes, Uncle John John. She goes, I heard you quit your job. It's like, yep, I quit my job. And I was like, oh man. She goes, you need money? I was like, oh, I'm a huge loser right now. I was like, oh no, Brookie. I was like, love you and bless you for even asking. But I was like, no, like left, my job to start this new company. And she knows our family background with recycling and this and that. And she goes, okay. She goes, you can tell she's like, all right, I'll hear you out. But like, I'm still a little concerned. And
she's 9.
Yeah. Keep in mind, I'm like sipping on a bloody, and she's just like having some French toast and bacon. We're just hanging out. And so I started just word vomiting, literally. This is before we even had a name of the company, really a concrete vision or anything. We're talking, recycling, clean air, and healthier planet, and this and that. And I'm like 10 minutes deep. I'm just flapping away. And I see her, I'm like, there's no way she's listening. If I were her, I would not be listening to me either. I'd be.
She's just.
Oh yeah, you can tell she's like, okay. It's like, I'm like, are you taking notes over there? It felt like kind of that. Yeah, seriously. Get a pen and paper too. Like, starting to sweat.
That's crazy.
But sharing like, Brookie, this is what we're trying to do. And she knows my business partner as well. And I was like another uncle to her. And she goes, okay. She goes, I get it. She goes, I get it, you guys. She goes, you make healthy spaces. And it clicked. And I was like, damn, you're right. And we had just paid a marketing company a ton of money for all of this vision and thought to come to life. And I was like, we just lost a bunch of money there. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're amazing to help.
Yeah.
But Brooklyn really solidified what I'm trying to do.
Hmm.
and along with my business partner, but I'm having just that one-on-one talk with her. And she was like, yeah. And she knows that I love to help.
Hmm.
And, if I could help everyone, I would. So she conceptualized what I'm trying to do. So if you go to our website, the first thing you see is healthy spaces, bright futures, because that is the core of what we do every single day. And yes, it can get all left and right field and everyone in between.
Right.
Doesn't. In Brooklyn goes, Uncle John, she goes, I get it. Like you make these healthy spaces, like let's create a force or a world for that we can be stronger ahead
Mm.
in case there is another COVID. She goes, we were all so sad. She goes, we couldn't see our friends, people were sick. She goes, the world is just really sad. But she was like, let's build something that, can sustain what is coming down the road, or, let's be prepared. And it's like, done, let's do it. And she goes, Uncle John, she goes, we're gonna need, an attorney, a line of credit. And then she goes, but most importantly, she
That's
goes,
crazy.
I know. I'm like sobbing at this point, basically. I'm like, I'll take another cocktail, like flood the right here. But she goes, but most importantly, we need to figure out how we're gonna give back.
Mm.
So she's like, how about for, every pound of trash we were to pick up, hypothetically, we donate $1 to plant trees. And at this time, I'm just like, yeah, you get the coolest Christmas present in the world this year.
That's
But it really, and then having conversations with the rest of my nieces and my nephew, and their experience of what that was like. And it's like, okay, like we can do something. And if I don't try, yeah, I would never, I don't know. It was just that thought. I'm like, I'm doing this. We're doing
right.
this. And it really helped drive what we're trying to do. And we started getting a little bit, off off script for a while of what we were thinking we were going to do.
Hmm.
But we go back to that thought of Brooklyn being like, no, healthy spaces. Like stick with that. So she said for $10 a year she can build me a book of business. So she's working behind the scenes. She's doing
There
some,
we go.
you know, but it's having those conversations with, our future leaders of the world. Like they get it. It's important to them.
I'd
And
agree.
you have a conversation with, let's say a CEO of a construction company, and then with a 9-year-old, and we're talking the same thing. But if the 9-year-old understands it and is actually committed to creating a healthier environment for everyone in the world ahead, versus you have X amount of years left, I'm going with her.
Yeah.
She,
Same.
no offense, but like, no, we're following the script of, we're to create healthy spaces, and it's fun just learning. We did a big install at my mom's childcare learning center,
Hmm.
seeing my friends' kids and my friends who are teachers there, and my mom that's there all the time more than she should be. In an environment that's high performing, it's healthy. We have the data to back it up. As a parent, you can walk in, see a floor plan, and see the efficacy levels of every individual classroom in live time. So dropping off your children that you're at peace of mind, hopefully.
Correct.
I mean, can't control all your stuff
Well,
going
yeah.
on. From
At
this,
least the air is good.
yep.
Gotcha.
But no one wants to be sick.
Correct. I'm happy you said that because that my question for you is, right, where do you see this human environmental sustainability like in the next 5, 10 years? Right? Are we walking into spaces, or even before we get there, we can see like a meter on the building, knowing that it's good? Like, how does that look, and where should people really be focusing attention towards over the next 5, 10 years in this space?
Absolutely. Yeah. One way that we can identify a building that has invested in not necessarily our solutions, but invested in the health and
Yeah.
wellness, you see different plaques outside, whether it's
Mm.
LEED certification. Well is something that we're really passionate about, more that human-centric approach to space.
Hmm.
LEED, everyone knows, we're focusing on more of the exteriors and the efficiencies. And well is about that human-centric approach to space. And why do we design them? Focus on, clean water, clean air, natural light, different elements to give you the best work, the best space needed to do your best work.
Hmm.
So you'll see different things like safe air score, different things like that. And I know walking into a building right then and there that they've gone above and beyond. And I guess above and beyond is an interesting term too, because I guess I take that back.
Yeah.
They've invested and
Correct.
they're open-minded. So why not continue that journey?
Hmm.
It's not cheap to achieve those different certifications, but we can help you sustain those and continue to evolve and grow.
Okay. And for
Look
and
for
for
those signs.
And for people, residential, rather commercial, they're like, okay, I hear you, John. I understand where you're coming from. Kind of curious. What would you say is like taking the first step? Like, what would that first step be? Is it like educating themselves about the space? Is it just simply like, hey, come to the website, we got you. We'll do something. Like, what does that look like for someone who is interested or want to know more about how they can incorporate these for their like own businesses and vicinities?
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you for asking. Our website, absolutely, you can go in and contact us, but I'm a super personal person. Shoot me a message on LinkedIn
Mm-hmm.
on my personal page or Eversphere. And we spend too much time probably on LinkedIn, but it's been great to help us learn and grow and,
Yeah.
strengthen our network. I'd say, shout happy to have a conversation. There's no dumb questions. Our
Mm-hmm.
website is kind of working behind the scenes to bring on the next iteration. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll have some new exciting advancements coming out in the next probably month or so.
Nice.
But at the end of the day, give me a shout, shoot me an email, my contact information. You'll probably always see a little green light on my face, like on
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn. So I'm pretty much always
Always
online,
on there.
always online. And we recommend anyone. It doesn't matter who you are, what you do, or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Care about your health and we want to help you. And if we can help you, we can find someone that can help. And if not, we gave it our best shot. So
Yeah.
without trying, we're not going to go anywhere.
That's true, and it's funny because once you were saying like the green light is always on, it reminds me back to like the ambulance thing, to where it's like we're just ready. If you need me, I will respond. Don't worry,
Literally,
I'm here.
you hear that ding, like, we're back.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
yep.
awesome.
No, it's fun.
Man.
It's good stuff.
Well, I appreciate it, John. Is there any last comments or words that you would love to say to the people? Now's the time.
Yeah, no, thank you. And thank you for first off inviting me on. This is great. Tell people, like, don't be afraid to think outside the box. If you're a business owner, how do we get people back? How can we help? And yes, you can pay him a ton more money and that may help,
Hmm.
but think about the people first. Why do you even have a team? Why do you own a business? Why do you own a building? Why are you an employee of this company? And focus on you and your family. If
Hmm.
you go to somewhere that is going to make you unhealthy or that doesn't feel that they can treat you the way that you should be treated, you're not stuck. Life's too short to be stuck doing the same thing, and not really pushing the limits is kind of my focus. I know we're kind of out there what we're
Hmm.
doing, but I don't know. Like I said, I don't know anyone that likes to be sick.
Right.
So if you don't like to be sick, kind of cheesy way of saying it, but don't be afraid to think outside the box, truly. And that's kind of opened up the doors for us. And we're excited to see what the future has in store.
I love it, man. Well, thank you so much for being a pioneer in this space, helping us to become healthier in these spaces. For guys, we're going to be linking all of his information down below. Please connect with him. It is very crucial, right? We live in interesting times. Taking care of your health, not just your health, but the health of like the people that you are leading within your companies is very crucial. And then making sure the next generation is also prepared and can have that chance to build something incredible. And we do that by giving them healthy spaces. So John, I
Amen.
appreciate it. I
That was
appreciate
great.
it. Until the next one.
No, thank you, Jay. I appreciate everything. And yeah, if anyone has questions, please don't hesitate to give us a shout and we'll talk soon.